to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. So, like I always say, I'm very happy to have this guest on my show today. And I know I always say that, right? But the truth is, I am always happy to have that particular guest on my show. And the reason is, it's because I've already had the chance to talk with them before I get to introducing them to you. And then there are the ones like today's guests, ones who I know many of you, if not most of you, already know. Today's guest is Laurel Bern. Laurel Bern is an award-winning New York interior designer, blogger, brand ambassador, and speaker. Her design work has been featured in national and regional shelter magazines. She is known for having a young, traditional aesthetic and is one to buck many of the current trends unless they happen to be classic favorites. However, after 21 years as the principal designer in her firm, Laurel Bern Interiors, she has turned her focus to blogging as a full-time occupation. Her award-winning blog, Laurel Home, has drawn a large following, and by large, I mean with page views in the multiple hundreds of thousands every single month. And this is due to her candid style of writing, the useful information, and the warm community of readers. You can see for yourself right on her website, laurelberninteriors.com, that she earns over $33,000 per month from her blog. In 2017, she came in first place out of 200 design bloggers and social media influencers nominated for Modena's Influencer of the Year 2018. In addition to designing and blogging, Laurel has authored 3 helpful online interior design guides for professionals and design enthusiasts alike. And the best news is for you, she has now released a comprehensive guide explaining exactly how she created this winning blog. The 150-page guide explains in easy-to-understand words everything that Laurel wishes she had known from the beginning. And today, we're so lucky because Laurel is going to share some of those insights with us. And in case you haven't heard, I'll be in Las Vegas for Market in a week and a half. I have the live coaching event, which is not quite sold out yet, but don't delay. If you want in on it, please reach out and take care of that. Basically, I just want to say, if you're feeling like you have the design side locked down, but you have too much or so much info in your head or in a notebook on how to get the business side locked down, and you're feeling frustrated because you don't know where to start, you're feeling like you're ready to grow, you're ready to scale, ready to be the amazing business owner that you know you can be, but you're afraid that your systems aren't quite in place, or you're not sure how to just get organized on the business side. Join me and my team at the Power Talk Friday event on Saturday, July 28th. This event is co-sponsored by Mydoma Studio, the International Windows Covering Expo, Designer Inc., and Revel Woods. For more info, go to luannnigara.com/Las-Vegas. Now, speaking of sponsors, before I introduce you to Laurel, let's show some love to our show sponsor. I'd like to thank Camp Chroma. Camp Chroma knows that the confidence that comes with knowing how color really works is priceless. At Camp Chroma, you will systematically learn the fundamentals of classic color systems and color science in an easy-to-follow, step-by-step lesson. You will learn practical methods to fine-tune both your e-design and on-site color specification process. Camp Chroma is an online, on-demand color training program for design professionals just like you. Go to campchroma.com to enroll. All right, that's it. Let's get to learning about the steps to creating a fantastic blog that drives business to your interior design firm with Laurel Bern. Hi, Laurel. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. I am thrilled to be here, finally.
I know. It's a long time coming for the two of us. We've been circling around each other and saying, I got to call you, you got to call me, and both very busy, but I'm so glad that we finally have, taken an hour to sit still and have this conversation, because you are so well regarded in our industry, Laurel, and you are known to be an excellent speaker and an excellent sharer of information. And I'm going to share a story that I have told you when I've seen you in person, but I'll share it for our friends listening. 2 years ago, 2017, when I was invited to be at the DBC, the Design Bloggers Conference. You were there. You were a featured speaker there, and you were speaking on Sunday. And I flew in on Sunday, and I remember getting to the hotel and thinking, I've got to get settled. I go, Laurel Bern is on at XYZ time. And then it turned out, coincidentally, Fred Burns was on, I think, right after you or before you. And I was like, I got to get to these. And then I have to say, I pulled the old lady card. I went up to my room thinking I was going to come down. And I just went, you know what? You got a long night. There's a lot of networking to happen. Why don't you skip these two? And you'll come down at 6 o'clock when everybody is getting ready. And I'm going to tell you what, if I had a nickel for every person over the next 2.5 days that said to me, did you hear Laurel Bern's presentation? It was amazing.
Well, you know what? I would have done exactly as you had done. And no question about it. And I did go first. I was at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
But it was I was really surprised at how full the room was.
Yeah. Well, I said, you're well regarded. And I just was like, you know what it's like when you're traveling and you're speaking, you're doing different things. And I was going on at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, and I was time zoning, and I just thought, Luann, you need to set your priorities. But that was a mistake on my part, as I found out, because, I mean, seriously, so many of the speakers did a great job. Of course, Fred Burns also did a great job. And that was the year that Shay McGee was there and Amber Lewis was there. Yes.
Yeah.
All really terrific. But I'm going to tell you, the buzz about your presentation went on for months afterwards when I would be at different events and so your name would come up and so forth. So, it's a year and a half, but we're finally getting it together.
Great, yeah.
So here's the thing. Let's talk about, of course, if this is news to anybody, they heard in the introduction the incredible achievements that you have reached with your blog. You are, of course, an interior designer, and you originally started a blog like so many designers and so many business people do, with the intention of simply driving some consumers, some clients to your actual brick and mortar business. Whether or not you had a studio is not relevant, but literally your initial point of starting the blog in 2012 was so that your design firm in Westchester, New York could drum up some business. And so, of course, it's grown into so much more than that. But I wanted to take, the first part of the conversation to really pick that apart, because there are going to be colleagues of ours, Laurel, that that will want to know how to create a 6-figure blog. And that might be their true dream. But I would say, and I think you probably agree with me, that probably 70% of the designers listening to us, really their goal is just to get more clients in their pipeline, right?
Absolutely. In fact, it might be higher than that even. No, because I think most people that are interior designers want to be interior designers. I have been an interior designer, counting design school since 1988. And I'm no spring chicken. So,
you're you're like me. You don't want to schlep the samples in the door anymore. You could do something else, right?
It's exhausting, and it is a tough business. I'm not going to kid anybody, and anybody who's been doing it for more than 6 months knows that.
Exactly.
So it was many, many, many years. I started Laurel Bern Interiors in 1996, and I was praying for a way out, but I couldn't see one. And even when I started the blog, it was not my intention for quite a long time. For really, I would say at least 2.5 years. It wasn't even a thought that I could do this full time.
Right. It was still, the focus was to, attract another consumer into the pipeline for your design business. So let's do that. Let's first talk to that part of blogging and how to effectively blog in order to simply, which is, there's nothing simple about it, but to simply draw and attract your ideal client to pick up the phone and hire you. So what are some of the things? Now, you have the perspective of having these, 6-8 years behind you and understanding all avenues, but let's restrict it to that part of the conversation, that part of the thing for saying. So tell us some of the principles, the tenets that you would say somebody listening, okay, you want to start a blog in order to drive traffic to your pipeline. What are we looking at first?
Okay. I just want to start out by saying for the first 1.5 years, nothing happened. Because I was doing everything wrong. And I didn't know I was doing everything wrong. It was actually about 15 months after I started my blog that I finally got some professional help, website help. And that is when I started to learn everything I was doing wrong. I had 2 websites. I had an old website that was still valid. I had 2 blogs. I had a defunct blog that I wasn't writing on very much. And I had 4 Google Plus accounts, Google Plus is another story. But also I had moved.
So it sounds like you were confusing the googly guy very much, right?
Mr. Google, my boyfriend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
he didn't know what to do with you. So
he didn't know what to do with me. And the first thing that everyone must do, and people are very resistant to do this, but it is essential. You must take note, this is really super important, have your address in the footer on every page of your website. Your address, not a post office box, that does not work. If you live in an apartment, you do not have to have the apartment number, but you do need an address.
Okay, and it's not sufficient to have it on the home page or the contact page. It should be on the footer of every page of your website.
It's easiest. Usually, if it's on the home page in the footer, it's going to end up on the footer on every page.
Understood. Okay, didn't realize that. Okay.
I mean, it depends. You could have a custom website created for you that is more sophisticated than a lot of the templates out there.
Okay.
But it doesn't hurt.
Right.
And also, people need to know where you are. If they come across your blog and they're interested in getting help from you, I can't tell you how many times I've been on somebody's blog and it's like, well, where are they?
Right.
Is this somebody? And they're not an interior designer necessarily, but this is an upholsterer, for instance, or well, where are they? Are they local? Can I use them?
Right.
So if you don't let people know right away where you are, people are busy. They're not going to spend, an hour trying to figure out where you are and Google your name and so forth. I mean, they might if they're really persistent.
Really motivated. They have to have another reason, not just they found you.
But you know what? And it sounds like, oh, she's not saying where she's from. Ooh, it makes you a little shady even.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. You guys hear me tell it all the time. I come across designers through Instagram or however it is, and the first thing I do, I'm a broken record. I've said it 1,000 times on the show. I go and I look at your website, and if I can't find your name, like Laurel, there's a lot of designers you can't find their first name for 2 or 3 pages. It's like, what is this? It's we, this, our firm, this, our aesthetic, that. I'm like, hello, who are you? And you're right. I also do want to know the area of the country that you're in. So I agree.
And the other thing, unless you're only planning on doing long distance work, then it doesn't matter. You need to have your local address on there to get picked up by Google Maps.
Right.
Because you want to try to get on Google Maps. So you need reviews, Google reviews. You can ask your former clients to do that for you, etc. But you need at least a few of them. That's fine. So you need your address, you need your name, you need an About Me page. But About Me isn't really about me. About Me, and mine probably really, it's really about you. It's always about your reader. Everything on your website is really about your reader. So when you're talking about you, you're talking about the things that your reader is interested in knowing about. And yes, they are interested, especially if you have a blog and they start reading it, they will be interested in some personal things about you eventually.
Eventually is the key word there.
Eventually. Yeah, you don't have, you can say a few lines in your About Me just to humanize yourself. You are a person. Have a photo of yourself and state your name. First and last name.
Right.
Please.
Right. Right. I hear you. I'm right there with it.
Yeah. I know people are nervous. Just get good locks, get an alarm system. I mean, we all remember phone books. Remember those things?
Yes, I do. I don't know how many people listening do, but I do.
Just about the time my eyes went, phone books went away, and it was a miracle, really. But I still remember having to wear 2 pairs of glasses just to see. That's how bad my eyes were.
Oh, that's funny.
And they were so good. But anyway, so we had our names and addresses in the phone book.
The whole world knew it. That's right. The whole world knew it. Yep.
Yeah.
So okay. So I hear. So what you're saying is the first and foremost is have your address on your website. So this is even before we get to the tips of creating a great blog. What you're saying is have the nuts and bolts in place first. Have your name, your address in the footer of every page. Go to Google and make sure you get at least a few of your clients to review you in Google, and then that helps with the Google finding you in your local address. And then your About Me page has your first and last name, has a photograph of you, and it talks to your reader, the challenges that your reader is coming to an interior designer to solve, correct?
Yes. And when you're talking about the nuts and bolts, so important. It's so important. You know you're fabulous. You know you're talented. You know you have what it takes. The person coming on your website for the first time does not know that. Everything you do, your website has to be visually beautiful. So, because we're in the business of creating beauty, correct?
Yes.
I very much recommend a white background. White is fresh and clean always. The less gimmicky you are, the better. You want your content to shine. You don't want your website itself to shine. And that is a mistake. It's not a huge mistake, but it's better to just have something very simple, very clean, very easy to navigate. Your navigation menu, the static navigation menu, should probably not have more than 7 items in it, and it needs to be on every page. Again, many websites splinter off. Sometimes they'll have a blog, maybe it's on Blogger, and they might have a link to the blog, and then you're on the blog and you can't get back to the main website. Huge problem.
Right.
Huge problem. You now have 2 websites.
Right.
So you can't have 2 websites. You need one website that doesn't splinter off, that's easy to navigate, easy to read. Your font needs to be of a size that little old ladies can read.
Exactly.
Well, little old ladies like me.
And me.
Well, even with our glasses.
Right.
But you don't want to ever have your lines of copy going all the way across your screen. I think it's supposed to be a maximum of approximately, say, 70 characters. And I've seen blogs, famous people, famous bloggers. I won't mention any names. I counted once. I counted. Can you believe that? How nerdy is that? But it was 135, almost double the maximum, and huge chunks of text. So these are things you need to make. We're going to assume you have a blog. You need to make it easy to read.
Well, and the reason because of that is that somebody, if your writing is good and it draws the reader in and they do read the entire blog post, that's terrific. But many of us are going to look at it and make a judgment call and go, that's too much to read, never mind. And when it is, like what you're saying, 70 characters, half the way across the page, nice spacing, good size font, that gets us attracted, like it's not going to be a lot of work to read this post, and then by the second or third sentence, if you're hooked, and it could go on for 10 pages if you hook us, right? But the hook is
Correct.
that visual. Don't make it look like, because I'm that way. I look at stuff and I want to skim it, and if it just looks like this is a project, I don't need another project today. Like I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like that looks like hard work to read that, right?
Well, right. People send me emails sometimes with huge blocks of text. And you know what I have to do? I actually have to copy and paste it into a little note thing that comes with my Mac. I am not kidding.
Because you've now trained yourself to write and read in that way.
It's not that. I mean, I have a really bad ADD. So I look at it in my mind. It's also like stuff moving on the page. I can't. It turns
it overwhelms.
my brain off.
Yeah, it overwhelms.
Yeah, it turns. So you don't want to overwhelm your reader, and they'll think you're a better writer than you actually are because you made it easy for them. It's really funny, but when you break it up for them like that. Right. Yeah, definitely.
Well, because we want to make a decision if we want to be committed to this piece of writing or not. And, in order to do that, I need to get through the first 2 or 3 sentences without working for it. If the font is small and the type is close together and, like you said, it goes back and forth all the way across the page, that's I can't skim that. I can't digest it. And I can't make an immediate decision that I've been attracted into it.
Right. You also need what they call sub-headlines, which took me a long time to get that. There's a place in your blog template when you're creating a blog, which is really like writing an email. It's really easy. But it gives you a place to create those sub-headlines that use your keyword. What is a keyword? A keyword is a search term. A keyword, that's really what it is. It's when you Google something, when you're looking for, I'm looking for a sofa. What are the best sofas? Best sofas, best sofa, whatever. That's a keyword, and you need to use your primary keyword several times in your blog post. So it needs to be in the headline. It needs to be in the URL, which is also the permalink. And that's the link that never gets changed. That's why it's called perma, like permanent. So your keyword is super important. It needs to be in the title, and it needs to be in your first sentence if possible. And then you need to use it in subheads throughout the post. But interior designers, we tend to use photos, so the subheads aren't quite as important, but you still should use them.
So let me ask you a question about that. So from a reader usability standpoint, the subheads are important because, again, at a glance, I can kind of get an idea of where this article is going, and I make a decision, keep reading, start reading, or move on, right? But but it's also the subheads are also part of that searching mechanism that the googly guy is using. So that's why they're important.
Because Google also skims.
Right. He's skimming also. So the question is that there is a fine line, though, between overusing your keyword, isn't there, Laurel? Tell us about that, because if it looks like, it's way too, I guess, spammy is the word, then the googly guy doesn't like that any better than he likes finding the word used 8 times, right?
There is supposed to be a ratio. Now, your posts ideally, in my opinion, should be most of them at least 1,000 words. but not of garbage, of really useful, helpful content. And uh, actually, that's another key point, helpful. The more helpful you are, there has to be something in it for your reader. And the way I can't tell you the number of people that have told me, I have decorated my entire house by myself just from reading your blog. Thank you. And then sometimes they send me pictures and I'm actually astounded at, oh my God, I said that. And it looks really good.
Wow.
And which is very gratifying. And these people were not going to hire an interior designer in the first place.
Great point.
So it's not like you're losing business. The people who aren't going to hire somebody aren't going to hire somebody.
Right.
But the people who are looking to hire somebody are going to think that you walk on water because you give so much for free. And that actually has worked in my benefit. There are readers I have who are just more than happy. They buy everything I sell because they just want to throw money at me. And sometimes, too, they want to support you.
Right.
Because they feel like you're their friend. And it's super important when you're writing that you make it personal. Like you're talking to your best friend and you're just gabbing, over, coffee and something really sweet and fattening. So, and you're just having a great time. You're having fun. Fun. I get so many people who want to guest blog and it's always the same. It sounds like I'm reading a brochure. It sounds like I'm reading something. And no, I can't have that on my blog because first of all, everyone will unsubscribe. People don't want to read that. They want to be entertained. They want a lot of knowledge. They want to be entertained in some way, whatever that is for you. So that is, everybody has their own unique secret sauce. Right. That's what you have to figure out. What is your hook? And some of the ingredients are the same in the sauce. Like everybody's sauce will have tomatoes and everybody's sauce will have salt,
Right.
But not everybody's sauce will have mushrooms.
Right. And so the thing is, what you're saying in there is voice is important. And so the voice is important. First of all, the voice has to be truly your voice. And so when you mention when you've been approached by people to guest blog, it might be somebody that if you were sitting there talking with them over a cup of coffee, they're perfectly delightful. But then when they hand you a piece of writing, it's like, who is that person? That's not the person I was just sitting with at coffee. So it has to be the same person in both places.
It sounds generic.
Right.
And it cannot sound generic. It has to sound unique. It needs to be unique. And Google is looking for that unique voice. And one way he knows that it's a unique voice is that when getting back to the keywords, they have to be used in a natural, organic way.
Right.
So, and it's good to use variations of that keyword. And actually, I found that out very recently when I went to examine one of my top posts. And I really learned a lot from doing that because I wanted to find out, why is this post doing so well? So that I can,
duplicate it.
Duplicate it. Yeah, why is this post doing so well? And then I also looked at the two posts above me, and the one that was in the number one position for the keywords I put in my search term, they actually had made some mistakes. And then I realized it's not that important. But what is important is the content. I mean, when they say content is king, what does that mean? It means your content has to be rich in information that is helpful to the person who is looking for that information. So Google needs to know that. Now, some of it is by reputation. And they used to have a thing, and they did away with it, page authority. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It was page authority, and then there was another one, whatever. And then they kind of did away with it. But I think it is still kind of there. So, like now, Google knows who I am.
Right.
So,
You're a reliable, you're like the Britannica Encyclopedia. They're like, if somebody has a question on decorating, probably Laurel has the answer. Let's go skim her stuff.
right. So this is a technical thing. You need to have your blog posts indexed, and there is a way to find out if they've been indexed. And this is another reason we're busy. I know. You're not going to look at it. You're not going to try to figure it out. You need to find somebody who can help you with that. And I just want to say I've written a guide. It's 150 pages that spells out how I've done everything. And I do have 3 people in the back that I recommend really highly. And if they can't help you, they can refer you to somebody. It's important that you get people who know what they're talking about.
Right. It's no different than a designer would not show up at their first, second, third, 10th, 500th kitchen renovation without a quality contractor to execute their vision. So
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. If you are intending to do a blog that's going to benefit your business in a meaningful way, you have to equip yourself with all of the tools and all of the experts in order to get this done properly. It isn't just an essay that you're putting out on the internet. If that's all you're doing, that's actually all you are doing, right? You're just,
Absolutely. And this is the other thing. I did create my own website. It's a WordPress, self-hosted WordPress website, which is what I recommend. I do realize a lot of designers especially are using Squarespace because they say it's easier. I don't know because I only know WordPress. Yes, there are things to learn. I don't find it difficult.
I feel like we have been told on the show. I'm thinking Stephan Spence, I want to say. He's an SEO expert, and he wrote a book, Laurel, that is over 700 pages on just the topic of SEO. Okay? I feel like I remember him saying that as easy as sites like Squarespace and Wix are to set up, and if that's the level that you're at and that's what you have to do to put your hat in the game, but if you are looking at the long term of truly building a big business and bringing and this blog and this website and everything be able to, like right now you're starting a business, you're a minute and a half in business and you have 10 portfolio pictures that are all your own living room, and you have an About Us page and maybe a contact page and a blog with 3 posts on it, right? So it doesn't need to be that robust. But if you look ahead 5, 6, 8, 10 years, what I understood was that the WordPress site it will grow as you grow, as your expertise in that area grows and that you want to build out your site. Is that where you call on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The problem is that you may outgrow your Squarespace
right. You don't
site.
necessarily.
That's not a bad problem to have, right. But it's a pain in the butt, right?
Right.
To have to then migrate everything to a completely different platform, etc.
That you're going to have to learn at that point anyway, and by then you're probably busy.
If you're more at the beginning, I very much recommend switching it over to WordPress.org, self-hosted.
So let's do this. So we're going to say that to set the table in trying to, in our why of driving pipeline business, driving clients, consumers to our design firm, that the blog first lives on a website that's well built, that has a white background, that has our address in it, that we have Google reviews outside of it, we have our photo, we have our first and last name, we have we don't get involved in gimmicky stuff on it. We let our images speak for us. We write blog posts that are typically 1,000 words. We have good words in our primary header. We have good keywords in our subheaders. We repeat our primary and our subheader words throughout. We use other words for them. So we use sofa, even though we all are going to scream when I say the word couch. We use sofa and couch because, the average consumer might Google best couch under $5,000 as opposed to best sofa, right? So these are all things
Absolutely.
that you're telling us to do. And then we want to talk in our own voice. We want to figure out what is our hook. So maybe our hook hook is that we are kind of sarcastic, or maybe our hook is that we're really super sweet, or maybe our hook is that we're the girl next door, or our hook is that we're the antique lady, that whatever our hook is, but zone into that, okay? And then the thing is, from there, let's talk about the consistency. And I want to get to that, what you said, that it took you 15 months before you started to see traffic or phone calls or business resulting from your blog. But you said at that point you went and hired somebody. So what are some of the things that you can cut that corner for us on to get us from 0 to 15 months? Is there one or two things in the actual writing of the blog, or the consistency, or the topics? Where is that little magic thing there?
Okay. Well, one thing that I should have emphasized even more is imagery.
Okay.
Your images, your portfolio, if you have some laggards, you have something you did 10 or 15 years ago, and not only is it dated, the photograph is fuzzy, it's poorly composed, get rid of it.
Okay. No bad images. We don't care.
You are only as good as your worst image on your portfolio, okay? If they see one bad or two or three, you're done, okay? It doesn't matter if most of them, they all need to be clear, big, bright images.
Okay.
And, well, I don't want to sound like I'm like the world's greatest anything, because I don't think I am. But I did take my own photographs. I got a Canon, and I learned a little bit about photo editing, which actually I enjoy a lot. But I've taken, and I don't take clients anymore, but the photos I do take these days, I just use my cell phone and I edit them. You almost always have to brighten up a photo, improve the contrast, sometimes color correct. And you can learn to make your photos sing, and cropping.
Okay.
So you can have and holding the camera straight. It's like, but I know it's really kind of silly, but you need to practice that and getting your lines to line up so that because it's easy to create, to have distortion in your photos, and sometimes it is very difficult to get everything to be straight, but as straight as you can, because it just will look better. So what I'm trying to say is, it is possible to take, if you're strapped for money, you can't afford, to shell out $5,000 for a professional photographer, or $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is. You can take your own photos. You can take, if you're just starting out, you can take photos of your own home. It's really great to do little vignettes, like you've styled a table really beautifully and with flowers and the lamp, and people eat that up. They love that.
Yes.
You do a corner of your sofa with two beautiful pillows, and just, you're giving them enough information that their mind fills in the rest. They know that that's part of a whole sofa, but they see a part and they can really focus in. The worst thing you can do is use a real estate photo that has a lot of distortion in, where they try to get the entire room in. You never want to try to get the entire room in.
That's a great point there. We often talk about slicing the photographs into the different vignettes, but all the way down to just the corner of your sofa. And every designer, whether you've got one project or zero projects, you've got a friend, a family, a mom, an aunt that's got, 3 different sofas from you, and or different bedroom, bed, nightstand. You really don't have to have the full room picture. And so what you're saying is, in the context of the post, so maybe the whole post is about styling the master bedroom, say, and you don't have a final picture of a fully gorgeous master bedroom. Even your own master bedroom maybe isn't what you want it to be, or it doesn't reflect what you would design. You're saying just do a close-up of the pillows on the bed, maybe with a monogram or something, and you can buy them and return them, because that just gives you your brain as the reader. If you're writing nicely, we're picturing all the tips that you're saying, and all we need to see see is one picture that says, oh, master bedroom to our brain, right?
Right. And that reader is going, oh, she could do that for me. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to put those colors together like that. Oh my God. And, putting those flowers and accessories together. Oh, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Oh, that looks so good.
Right.
So that's what you really, there are a lot of designers, and I know you guys are talented, but the portfolios are just crap. Okay, there's no better other word I can use, and it breaks my heart.
Tough
actually.
love, everybody.
Yeah, because I know, and then they say, "Oh, I'm not, the phone isn't ringing. I'm not getting any work, or they're just tire kickers, or whatever." And no. But so getting back to your original question, I just had to. That is actually it's all. Everything. There are a lot of moving parts, and they do all have to work together. So But
what your big point is don't make the excuse that either A, you don't have the budget for a professional photographer, or B, you don't have enough projects to have photography of, even if you had all the money in the world. The point is that there are ways to be creative, and the whole post doesn't have to, the picture doesn't have to be reflective of the exact all the steps that you're saying that go into creating a beautiful room. You could just have little snippets.
For instance, Linda Holt.
I was just going to say, I just wrote down so it's waiting for the moment to introduce Linda's name. Go ahead. I'll let you do it.
She's probably been on. Has she
yes,
been on?
I was just going to tell everybody we have Linda Holt, who was on episode 97, and she specializes in teaching you iPhone photography for your projects. Yeah.
It is not difficult. It is very easy. It is easy to edit. It's actually fun. It's kind of it's more than a hobby because I edit, even professional photographs, I find, unless they're in Domino, where everything's overexposed, they're too exposed, but a lot of photos need to be brightened up a little, sharpened up a little. I've seen professional photographs that are crooked, and it kind of makes me crazy. Yeah. I can put them into my little editor and straighten them, and I'm so happy. It's like, oh my God, never mind.
Yeah. No, but that's the truth. I wanted to bring that up because we have a lot of new listeners, and
that's important.
Yeah.
So with your website, one thing that's very important for designers is to build your email list. And people sometimes don't understand the value of it. But that's your platform, that's your fan base. So how do you build your email list? And what most people do is they have a little thing on there, sign up for our newsletter, don't miss a post, blah, blah. And, first of all, I know people do call it a newsletter. You have to remember, and some people have heard me talk before, so I probably say this every time, but
good information needs to be heard multiple times before we believe it.
When you have a blog post, chances are most people who are landing on your page have never been on your blog before, don't know who you are and everything, and then they might see that and sign up for our newsletter. They're not interested in your news.
No, we're not. No. We don't know yet. No. We don't love you yet. I don't really care about you yet.
I don't care about your news.
Right.
Next, click, they're gone. No. So what do you do instead? Well, first of all, I call that the wimpy opt-in. Okay, and opt-in is what you need to do legally to get somebody's email address. Do not ever buy a list. You can get yourself into some big trouble. Especially over in Europe. But that's another story.
Right.
But even if we're just focusing on local business or in the United States, where most of us are, you do not ever want to buy a list, and you don't want to add somebody's name without their permission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to bribe them
right.
into giving you their email address for your blog.
So now talk to us a little bit about that. I know that we had Claire Jefford on episode 325, and she talked about the same thing, about the things that you need to do in order to grow your email list, the types of opt-ins and lead magnets that you want to create. So give us your spin, your suggestions as interior designers. It's not enough. What you're saying is, when I come, maybe I Googled a search term that brought me to your blog, but when I get to your blog and I get the immediate pop-up, get on the newsletter, what we're both agreeing is, I don't want to be on your newsletter yet. I didn't even read the first blog post that I just found in my search. So, but what's happening on there that's going to entice me?
Okay, first of all, you don't want a pop-up that's going to go splat in the middle of your blog post the second they get on.
Yeah, I hate that.
Isn't that irritating?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm trying to read. Stop.
Right.
And you have to click it off, so you're annoyed. You don't want to annoy your reader.
No.
Okay? You want, if you have I do have, this is my backup, a small Sumo Me pop-up that comes in the lower right-hand corner. I've programmed it. It only comes once a day. So if you're looking at multiple pages, it won't come up again until the following day. So that's one of my backup opt-ins. And it's in the lower right-hand corner, and they have to scroll down a third of the way. So, and it's small.
Okay.
Because Google also will get upset if you've inconvenienced your reader. He started cracking down on that to some extent. This is what I've heard. Okay. So what you need is to give your reader a gift, a free gift. And it's not, it's not something fluffy like, the 10 best fabrics for throw pillows, yawn, I mean, yeah, some people might want that. Most people aren't.
What are some ideas that have worked for you in the past or for others that you have taught how to do this?
Well, I mean, this is really, I'm just, you gave me sodium pentothal here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really care because people do want to know about paint.
Okay.
That's a big
Paint's
one.
a hot topic.
Paint is a hot topic. So you give them the 10 best shades of white or 5 shades of white. You don't need, I did a post once. These are the only 6 shades of white I've ever used. Oh. Really?
Okay.
Like, is that true? Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, there may be one that I used once before, but the only ones I need.
Right. If you took all the others away, you could survive your design business.
Once you have one husband, you don't need another one.
You definitely don't. I'm just going to
say. Well, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do. But that's like people say, well, you use cotton balls. Why don't you use Simply White? Well, I've never actually used Simply White. I've seen it. It's beautiful, but I don't need it because
cotton balls is fine.
Because what's the difference? The difference is between 10 a.m. and 10:30 a.m.
Right. That's
the difference. It's so minute because white, for instance. But it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever you want. And if you've been in the business for a while, you will know because there are problems that have come up. If you have been writing a blog for a while, look at your top 3 posts in your analytics. I love, this is another reason why I love WordPress so much, is you can have Jetpack, WordPress.org. Jetpack gives you all of the things that are on WordPress.com. That's the one that WordPress hosts, but you don't want that.
Okay.
You want the one that is self-hosted. It's still free. The hosting isn't free, but the website is free itself, because they have great stats on Jetpack. Because I know Google Analytics is such a pain. I mean, it's good to learn that a little bit too. But you can see your top posts right at a glance for given periods of time.
Okay.
So you look at your top posts. Oh, okay. That is going to give you a really good clue. You can even use a post for your opt-in and just beef it up a little, add to it, make it something special. So you just make a PDF file and you upload it to your image library so it lives on your blog. I use something called Magic Action Box, which automatically puts that opt-in, little box at the top of every blog post.
Right.
A lot of people put it in their sidebar. Sidebar is where you put your backup opt-in.
Okay.
Because a sidebar is where you put things that you don't want people to read, like your awards. I actually recommend, for the most part, and really I only realized this maybe a year ago, social media links. You don't need them. Why?
Really?
Well, I know it's Facebook is valued at what, $500 billion. So they're all in cahoots. They want you to come to Facebook. You do not want people to leave your site.
Good
The
point.
longer they are on your site, the better. So you do very nicely. You show them all of the great blog posts that they're missing out on. You need I have lots of things at the bottom. Read this. You might like this, right?
Okay.
It works. And in your sidebar, you can also add, these are the 10 top posts, or these are the 10 most frequent posts, or
Right,
these
so
are
you
10
tease them over.
Right. So, but you can put your rewards in your sidebar. Sidebars are great because will help you not have your blog content going all the way across your screen.
Right. It makes it so that it looks logical, but it keeps
Right.
us.
It organizes. Yeah, it keeps the eye. For the most part, the eyes are going to be focused on the primary content, not the sidebar. So it's not the best place to put your opt-in, only as a backup.
Right.
Okay. It's not the best place to put advertising. That's a whole other topic. That took me a long time to learn. In fact, really, truly only a few months ago.
Really?
Did I fully get it. And boy, and I talk about this in my guide, I have left tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something that I read somewhere that said, and it was probably from your website, it said that from 2015 to 2017, so that's 5 years after you were blogging, and that's also to the point where you were blogging as the main business and realized that that's what you were doing, that you left $250,000 on the table during those 2 years.
Absolutely.
And what was that exactly? Why? What did you learn that you look back and said, okay?
Part of it was, this is advertising. I had some Google ads up maybe after I had been blogging for 2.5 years, and I was up to a whopping like $3 a day, because if you do them yourself, you can't make any money. So I very much recommend that you get on an ad network. Now, the one I'm on, you have to have a minimum of 100,000 page views a month, which if you're just starting out is going to sound impossible.
Right.
You have to know, for the first year and a half, I never got past 30 page views a day.
Okay. See, that's the kind of thing, right? So now we're going to slide into that conversation of going from, first of all, did you just say 30,000 views or 30? 30.
30.
30.
For the first year and a half,
Right.
I never had more than 30 page views a day. That was my max.
And by the way, there's 99% of us that don't get that, unless that's our mother goes there 30 times in a row. So as crazy as that is for somebody who is now getting 336,000 a month to go.
No, that's people. Page views is between 600 and 700,000.
Whoa. So 30 page views could be 5 people is what you're saying. So 5 people could come a day and look at 6 pages each.
They could. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what would happen there? What happened from 30 page views to the first 10,000? How does that happen?
Really, really great question, because it was a lot of the things I've been talking about. But the first thing I did, consistent blogging.
Okay.
And I'm kind of getting chills when I say that, because it's so important. And I know I made that mistake. Look, we all have stuff in our lives, right? I left my husband. I moved to an apartment by myself. Can I say I was depressed? Yeah. I was.
Mm-hmm.
So what did I do? I decorated my apartment. But and then I wasn't blogging consistently.
Okay.
And I and that was part of the problem. So what did happen is after I found my geek help that I still work with and love and recommend, Eileen Lonergan, Eileen, Lonergan.com. She did Linda Holt's website. So if you go look at Linda Holt's beautiful website, you will see Eileen's work. But she does so much more than that. She does everything. She consults with me on marketing and everything, and she is the nicest person in the world, and her fees are reasonable. She's really an angel from heaven. I started my blog in April 2012. In December 2012, I moved. And in June 2013, 6 months after I moved, I realized my phone hadn't rung the entire time. Okay? I think I found myself, I don't know, on page 7 or something. And somehow I was on Eileen Lonergan's email list. And I saw she was a WordPress expert and she sounded so nice. And so I contacted her. And she didn't say this, but I know she was thinking a total shit show. Like I said, I had 2 websites. Google didn't know where I was. Lots of things were wrong. So I worked with Eileen it was a few months to get everything together. Once it got together, and it's so crazy sometimes how life works. In retrospect, it just kind of floors me. But I got my website together, and then I found out my best friend was dying. So this was that was 9 months after I moved. So life can really suck, right?
Right.
So my best friend, the one you tell all your dark, dirty secrets to, that friend, and they don't come around every day. Sometimes they never come around. I felt very lucky, and she did die. But before she died, I had my Forrest Gump moment. It's like my favorite movie. I know some people can't stand it, but I just love the message in that movie, which is he just followed his heart. And he just felt like running, And for me, I just felt like blogging. Well, I did. I drowned my sorrows in consistent writing every other day. So I was constantly working on a blog post. They weren't as long as they are now. But every other day for several months, I did a blog post. After 1 month, my page views nearly tripled.
Wow.
Okay? They nearly tripled. I went, holy crap. It works. Okay?
Okay.
So I was writing about I had a series, freshening your home for the new year, because it was December. And I guess Google picked some of it up. So instead of getting 20 to 30 page views, I was getting 70. And every month it went up another, it was an 80, 90. And by May of 2014, by the end of May, I was up to about 300 page views a day. And then I wrote my first, what I call a breakout post. A breakout post is one that just does abnormally well. And the title is 12 Ways HGTV is Lying to You. And then I learned a lesson. You have to go out on a limb. Because it was bugging I was watching those TV shows like, oh my God, this is such stupid. In fear, they aren't all
right.
Stupid. Let me back that one up. There are some fabulous shows on HGTV, but there are some, and we all know which ones they are, that they're just lying, and they're scripted, and it's like, and they say the same things over and over again. It's the same ugly black light fixture for every home that they're trying to sell, and the formula. So I wrote this post, and instead of 300 page views, I had like 1,500 page views, and I called Eileen. Eileen, I have 1,500 pages. Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And yes, it went down, but it didn't go down as far. And then it kept growing. And then I kept, this is what they want. They like this. They like it when I'm being cheeky. Okay, I get it. Okay, because that is me. I am irreverent, sarcastic, but in hopefully a nice way. I don't tear down people. I do try to vary my posts, but it's important to write what your readers want to know more about. And so people say, well, how do I know what they want to know more about? Ask them. But you might not get anything. In the beginning, if you want that information, you might offer them another freebie to answer your survey. You'll get my free guide. If you just take this quick survey, it's only 10 questions. It'll only take you 2 minutes. And then you'll get my free guide on, how to make a bed or whatever.
Right. So, and then you ask them the kinds of things they're interested in, what do they want more of. Okay. So what we're saying is, if we want to grow the readers coming to our blog, that we have to be consistent. And what you suggested, what you shared, was that even though it happened out of a tragedy, and it happened out of almost self-preservation, it sounds like a therapy for you, you started blogging every other day. And then after a month, you noticed an uptick in your readership, and then after 7 months it was still growing, and you were fortunate enough to hit on that breakout blog post that's sort of, not viral by your standards now, but viral by the standards of somebody that's getting 40 or 50 visitors to get 1,500 visitors, or 100 visitors, 100 page views to get 1,500 page views. And your advice in there was not to always play it safe, not to be mean, not to be cruel, but not to always play it safe. Be willing to take an opinion and a position on something. And yours was that, HGTV, 12 Ways They're Lying to You, right? So let me ask you a question about consistency. So if our goal is to earn clients in our immediate area, is once a week or once a month appropriate, as opposed to every other day, which is the goal?
That is such a good question, because people have asked me, what is the minimum I can get away with?
Right.
That's not the right answer.
Because we have busy lives.
You have busy lives, and you're saying, I need to write it myself, and it's like, well, it depends. If you have, there are different kinds of blogs. There are some blogs that are very successful that are written by numerous people. So, but let's just say, for starters, it is you. And your posts have to be a certain length, and they have to be rich in content. Ideally, it should be once a week. And if you need to get the ball rolling. So, it should be once a week. So if you can spend 7 or 8 hours writing that blog post, really great blog post, and then you have to allow some more time for social media and answering the dozens of comments you're going to get.
Right.
Because comments are vital. Number one, you're creating a community. You are creating a community of readers, which also validates you. Comments beget comments, and Google loves comments. Because people don't comment, well, they can comment on crap content, but it shows engagement, and Google wants to see that. He wants to see life. And not to toot my own horn or anything, but this 150-page guide I wrote, it talks about everything I didn't know in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, even up until 6 months ago.
Right.
that if I had known from the beginning, I could have moved things along a lot faster and made a lot more money.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even in everything that I write about applies, even if you don't want to be a full-time blogger and make money from your blog.
Right.
If you just want local traffic, then you need to write about the topics that your local readers want to read about. If it starts to get some bigger exposure, fine, great. You know, it very well may.
We should all have that problem, right?
And maybe you want to make your blog, maybe you have an additional talent. Maybe you want to make your blog not just about interior design. Maybe you want to bring something else to reach an even wider audience. I don't know.
It has to be true to you. That's the thing. If you're also an amazing gourmet cook, maybe you sometimes talk about that, how you design the kitchen to, you know what I mean?
You know, you have a business within a business yourself. So, and undoubtedly they help each other. So
Exactly. One supports the other.
But it's important, and I believe you have one website, correct?
I actually now have two websites. So
now you do.
Right. I had the one website for the first 18 months because I very intentionally wanted everybody listening to understand that we own WindowWorks, and that if you were a designer that was in the New York metro area and you thought you liked me and you thought you could get along with me and you agreed with my business values, that we could work with you with your projects. And if you were a designer from out of town and you were coming to New York City and you got to do a project, we could be your boots on the ground. And so that was a very intentional thing for me to keep them together. And then at about the 18-month point, it was time. Okay, now everybody knows who I am. They understand the difference. And so, because what happened is the content for the podcast started to overwhelm the WindowWorks website. You see, we needed 8 things, navigation bars at the top and yada, yada, yada. Right. Yeah. It got to be sloppy and confusing. And if you were a local Livingston, Short Hills, New York City area, potential window treatment or awning client, and you were coming, it got to the point where you were coming to the WindowWorks website, it was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Who is this lady and why do I care about all of this stuff? And so, but look, there was an intention and it's working. So, but they still do work very much in tandem in actual practice. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to recap this here. Okay. So we understand the whole beginning of the conversation, get the website in order with all of those things. And then even to create a simple pipeline of clients for ourselves, we want to do consistent blogging, 1,000-word posts, rich content, really teach somebody something, make them feel like they got some great value, they learned something about interior design, a tip that they didn't know, they didn't understand. And I will just tell you, don't overthink it, because you guys think it's easy. The rest of us don't know how to do it. And the little tips that you think are like everybody knows that, guess what? We all don't know it. But be specific and be clear and teach it to us. It's okay in the beginning. Laurel is telling us that once a week is fine, but it's not once a week and then it's once every 5th week and then it's, whatever. You have to do it consistently even to attract your local,
I was going to say, if all you can manage is twice a month.
Right. Then that's it.
Then twice a month.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's like when I launched the podcast, it didn't sometimes come out on Monday and sometimes it came out on Thursday. And now, it came out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then when after I hit the 300th episode and I went to 2 a week, it comes out Tuesday and Friday. It's not sometimes Monday, sometimes Thursday. It's always the same day, because that's how you build your community, right? They know when to find you.
Absolutely. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And then we want to say that we want to use great images and that we can listen to Linda Holt's episode number 97 if we need tips on iPhone photography, because Linda Holt is also a highly respected interior design blogger, and she does have the free courses and also paid information on how to do iPhone photography. So that's episode 97 if you weren't listening back in the very beginning.
I love Linda.
I know, right? We want to have our
she's
primary
amazing.
titles with keywords. We want to have our subheadings with keywords. We want to answer comments, and we want to create community and have discussion in there. And then the other thing that we're going to say, we're just going to top this all off, Laurel, and say that the honest to God truth is it that you have written a 150-page document that is called Six-Figure Income Blogger. And if somebody wants to go from zero to 60 miles an hour and not do the learning curve and not learn everything the hard way, Laurel has put it out for you so that you can go back and learn from everything that she's done. She has all the tips in there, all the strategies that she's used in there, all the lessons that she learned the long and hard way. So if you want the straight ahead course, you certainly can go to her website. That's Laurel Bern, BERN.com. It's $199. It's well worth it. If this is, look, put it this way. If it's $199 and you got one project because you read this and you implemented it, and 6 months later you had success and you got one project, like that's a slam dunk. Like stop, like like that's you can't even think about the return on that. That's like exponential. Let alone if your desire and your goal is to be a successful blogger, and that's your income and your platform, and you aspire to be like Laurel, where she is now earning a six-figure income from her blog. So, Laurel, it's awesome. You're a font of information. I appreciate your taking all of this time with me today to share this with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in person.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. I do love talking about this. I know what it's like to be completely lost.
Yeah.
Not know where to turn, and it's horrible.
Yeah. No, it's everything that we struggle with. It's nice to know that somebody's been there, done that, and we can just, sometimes we have to go through things the long and hard way. But it's nice to have a roadmap, even if you just say, oh, that's not for me. And then you're like, do it the long way. And you're like, oh yeah, that was the directions.
And it's fine if something that you're doing or anybody is doing and it's working for you, great.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Then keep with that, because there isn't just one way to do things. I do write about how I did it.
Exactly.
I tried to make it very, very simple. I don't give, well, you could do blah blah 10 different things. That's very confusing, I find.
Yes.
So if they want to have more information about that and my other products, it's in the first link on my main menu on the left-hand side.
Okay. Main menu, left-hand side at laurelbern.com.
It's Laurel Bern Interiors.
Oh, sorry. laurelberninteriors.com. Okay, that's twice I said it wrong. Okay, everybody, laurelberninteriors.com.
Right.
All righty. Well, thanks, Laurel. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Luann.
Great advice, right? I mean, everybody raves about Laurel. She's so smart, and she has, what it is there's a lot of people that have success but don't take the time to analyze it and like in her case, actually curate the information and pull apart the reasons for the success of her blog. And that's exactly what she's done with this guide, the six-figure blogging guide. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm nearly 100% certain that I would bet you that 90% of the advice in this guide would apply to you if your purpose for blogging, your why for blogging, is to drive clients to your interior design firm rather than to quit your interior design firm like Laurel did, right? The thing is, good practices are good practices. And what happened was she became so successful that she realized, like she said, she found a way out. It was 21 years. It gets old after a while, and some people are very energized after 21 years, and others realize that it's hard to be in a consumer space day after day and taking the type of meetings and details that you guys handle. And so this was Laurel's path. But what I love is that she's documented it so that if it's your path, if it's the journey you want to go on, you don't have to go through the 18 months or 2 years of pain and learning mistakes that she did, okay? And also, too, there will always be a moment that you can decide guide. So if you are really wanting, you have an interest in blogging, you have a desire, you see you can't fake the blogging, right? You have to kind of want to do it, and you have to enjoy it. In order to do it well, it takes time. Like she said, you put it together, then you rewrite, and then you to do the social media and everything. It's not a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type of thing. But if it's something you have an affinity to do, and it is the way you'd like to market your interior design business, then why not use her guide and cut out all the heartache along those first 2 years? But here's the thing I started to say. You'll get to a point, if you're following it step by step, that you'll have to make that decision. Nope, the reason I'm doing this is to grow my interior design business. And then I'm sure there'll be a very clear moment where some of the advice will just be, okay, that's awesome, good to know, not for me right now. But that whole nuts and bolts of just getting that blog up and running and read and searched and found, that's the key right there, okay? The other thing is, I mentioned it in the introduction, but then Laurel and I never went around and talked about the 2 other guides that she has available for sale on her website. The first guide, is called Laurel's Rolodex. This is a comprehensive shopping guide for home furnishings. It includes links to the vendors and manufacturers, and it features a list of over 180 designer-friendly vendors for interior designers. And Laurel specifically notes that no professional confidences are divulged in this guide. So I'm just going to say, if you don't have 20 years behind you and you are looking to just, flip right to something and have a resource at your hand, that sounds very valuable to me. The other guide is a 144 curated collection of Benjamin Moore paint colors with one huge master palette where all the colors go together, plus the shades of white that look best with each color. It has a part 2 where she puts the colors into 40 palettes with mood boards and furniture and links to sources. The palettes then go into palette families so that you can mix and match colors with relative ease. These 2 products are sold together. All of her guides can be found at laurelberninteriors.com, and it's Bern, B-E-R-N, laurelberninteriors.com. Okay, now, in addition to the Power Talk Friday tour event in Las Vegas, which is a paid event, I will also be doing 2 free events. So if you are in town for the market, please come out and meet me. We have one opportunity is on Monday at Alder and Tweed. I will lead a panel discussion at 10 a.m. July 30th. I will be talking with Sarah Daniele, the CEO of My Doma Studio, John Dupre of Rebel Woods, and Lindsay Humphrey of Design Collective. These individuals are all innovators. They have all created something, a product or a service where there was a gap in the industry. This takes vision, it takes guts, and it takes a plan. So come join me as I pick their brains on how to know you have a great idea on your hands, and how to analyze and assess your risks before jumping into this new idea or venture. So if you're sitting on the fence and thinking, I want to go into this, that, or the other aspect and add a layer to your business, but you're not sure of the process of really understanding if the risk is worth the return, then come out to this event at Alder and Tweed, Monday morning, July 30th, 10 a.m. Okay? And then at 1 o'clock, Kravit Inc. and My Doma Studio are hosting a presentation. I'm going to give a presentation at the Kravit showroom, and then a book signing along with lunch. This is 1 o'clock on Monday. Okay? So if you are coming to Las Vegas Summer Market 2018, please be sure to find me and introduce yourself. Lastly, what's your takeaway from today's show? What's the one thing you have decided to do after listening to Laurel Bern? Let me know. Comment on Instagram on the post for this episode. Have a great day. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.